Hello everyone, this is part 4 of the video. We were discussing 2025 English Literature optional paper, and paper 1 we were discussing section A. We have discussed question number 1, 2 and 3. This is part 4 where we'll be discussing section A, question number 4. Okay, question number 4. So this is the question paper, and we have already discussed question number 1, 2 and 3, and today we are going to discuss question number 4. So the first question, it says, with reference to characteristics of a romantic poetry, assess Wordsworth as a romantic poet. So try to connect the romantic poetry and the writers and Wordsworth's work, which have been mentioned in the syllabus, so that you can write an answer in a cohesive and comprehensive manner. And you try to link certain things of romantic poetry and Wordsworth. And whenever you're making notes of Wordsworth, also try to segregate the things, the features of romantic poetry and the features of Wordsworth's poem. Try to give examples of romantic poetry with with connection to Wordsworth's poem. So what I'm exactly trying to say is, like, let's suppose you're writing the features of romantic poetry, write the examples of Wordsworth's poem which have been mentioned in the syllabus. Likewise, when you're making the notes of Wordsworth's poem, also give a special mention to the characteristics which have been highlighted of the romantic poetry in Wordsworth's poem. So the question is saying about the linkages and an overview understanding of romantic poetry as well as Wordsworth. So you have to give examples from the text which have been mentioned in the syllabus. So with reference to characteristics of romantic poetry, assess Wordsworth as a romantic poet. So Wordsworth is considered the quintessential English romantic poet, and his work emphasizes nature and power of emotion and imagination. The spiritual connection of humanity is also expressed, the natural world, and the importance of simple life and common man is also uh, the feature of the works of Wordsworth. So, what are the characteristics of romantic poetry? With reference to the characteristics of romantic poetry, we have to assess Wordsworth as a romantic poet. So, the characteristics are: first is primacy to nature, because it is in romantic poetry as well as in Wordsworth's work. Nature is not just a setting but a powerful living entity. It is the source of spiritual truth and moral guidance. So we can give examples of Tintern Abbey, where nature's beauty provides a refuge and a solace for mind. There are lines like, I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy. So you can give examples. Also, there is another point we can talk about is of emphasis on feelings and intuition and the subjective experience of the individual. So imagination is seen as a creative faculty. So you can give example from Ode to Intimations of Mortality. The poem's theme is of the fading, of the visionary gleam of the childhood. So the speaker seeks to retrieve the splendor in the grass and the glory in the flower through the memory and imaginative power. Another point we can talk about is focus on the rustic life and common experience. As Wordsworth said, to use the language really used by men, and so does it rejects elevated and artificial poetic diction. So you can talk about Michael. The entire narrative there focuses on the tragic life and simple and honest virtue of a common age shepherd, elevating a story to the level of the epic tragedy. So his toil is depicted as having a moral worth. So how simple life and common man is the is given attention to in both romantic poetry and in Wordsworth's work. Another example can be of spiritual and mystical connection to nature, because nature is there as a teacher and the conduit for transcendental experience, suggesting a unity between human spirit and the cosmos. So in the poem is there in the syllabus. 3 years she grew. So their nature itself raises the girl, and imparts the qualities like the stars of midnight shall be dear to her. The lines have been there in the poem, and 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 the beauty born of murmuring sound shall pass into her face. So these are the points which you can use, and do give examples, because otherwise it will be a vague answer. You'll be just stating things without an example. So it is very necessary to, whatever poems which you are using to give examples, do write some of the lines which have been which you will be memorizing and you'll be practicing beforehand. So that gives an edge to your answer, and it shows that you have a good understanding of the poem, of and also of the age and the writer. Okay, the next question: how does the poet Tennyson reflect his emotional journey in the poem In Memoriam? Explain. Okay, so In Memoriam is a fairly long poem. So the question there is, usually the question does not focuses on particular line or particular instance of the poem. The questions which have been asked in the previous years, as I have understood, is about a wholesome nature of the poem, or about the feeling which have been uh, evident throughout the poem, and what the feeling which Tennyson has experienced. So do not focus on if you are not understanding some lines, if you're not understanding certain phrases, because pinpointing any line has been not asked yet. They the question maker or the okay, so uh, that is what I was saying. So UPC does not want us to get into the nuances, or any particular line which we might have missed, or which is difficult to understand. They're not asking any lines about the poem. Just they are just asking that you must understand what is the core belief or the core idea about the poem. So the question is, how does the poet Tennyson reflects his emotional journey in the poem In Memoriam? Explain. So in Tennyson's In Memoriam is not merely an elegy; it is an lyrical journal, we can say, that it that meticulously traces the poet's turbulent emotional and intellectual journey following the sudden death of his beloved friend Arthur Henry Hallam. So this journey moves from, like, crushing him and self-absorbed grief to a final hopeful affirmation of faith and enduring love. So the poem, the question basically asks, how does the poet Tennyson reflect his emotional journey in the poem? So you have to understand now what the question is basically asking. It is asking to give examples of how the poem is moving, and also how it reflects that Tennyson's state of mind is also moving ahead, or the state of life, we can say, of Tennyson is also moving. So the poem basically shows an emotional journey, or we can say a complete life journey of Tennyson. So we have to just give examples of how it is Tennyson's emotional journey as well as the poem, which both of them are moving together. So the poem begins in the deep abyss of shock and denial and profound self-pitying sorrow. Tennyson is entirely consumed in his personal loss. So this, like, Tennyson expresses his crushing weight of his situation by lamenting his inability to find a positive outlook in sorrow. So there is a line which says, "Let love clasp grief, lest both be drowned." So this shows that he's almost desperate. Embrace of grief itself, rather than facing uh, the 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 tragedy which has arrived. Also, as the shock wears off, like in further in the lines, the poet moves into a period of intellectual despair and doubt. um, and directly challenging the benevolence of God and meaning of existence, particularly in the light of emerging Victorian science, has been evident. Like when he says, "Are God and nature then at strife? That nature lends it evil dreams." So it reflects his struggle to reconcile Hallam's random and individual death with a purposeful, loving creator, seeing instead a process that only cares for species, not a person. Also, the crucial turning point comes when poet consciously chooses love and emotional connection as a supreme value, even in the face of loss, elevating feeling above cold reason or nihilistic despair. So, uh, the line which says, "Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." So, this affirmation acknowledges the pain but finds greater meaning in the capacity of human or deep human love. Moving towards the recovery, if we talk about, the poet begins to feel the spiritual and abiding presence of his lost friend, and this shift is often marked by symbolic Christmas scenes and the moments of mystic communion, suggesting Hallam's soul is not lost, but it is just transformed into other form. Like dead man touched me from the past, and all at once it seemed last, the lines. So this mystical moment provides concrete solace, and moving the relationship from one physical absence to the spiritual presence is also there. And moving ahead to the final stage, the final stage sees Tennyson's grief subdued and reconciled with a renewed Christian faith. He views Hallam as a prophetic figure, an ideal of manhood that the human race is so slowly evolving towards. So the epilogue basically concludes the journey and shifting the focus entirely from personal loss to celebrating a future marriage. And it ends with the ultimate hope of for humanity, embodying the final triumph of faith. So Hallam is now viewed as an ideal man, and so these are the lines which you can use, and also you can give certain examples, other examples also you can give. So this was how you are showing that the poem is also moving along with Tennyson's emotional journey. So moving on to next question, justify your views that the play A Doll's House challenges traditional views on marriage and family. Okay, so these are the recurrent themes which have been asked about Doll's House. So prepare these themes. These are simple and easy to understand. So prepare these themes which have been asked about the works in the past year papers, because it there are fairly high chances that certain topics are only going to get repeated in the next years. So better be prepared, and you'll have much good points, and you can also try to like frame your answers in a better way and in a novel way of your own choice. So better to prepare these points. So like we have to answer, justify your views that the play A Doll's House challenges traditional views on marriage and family. Okay, so marriage and family are the two places where like the Doll's House challenges basically uh, the things. Okay, so Henry Gibson's Doll's House we talk about has profoundly challenged the traditional Victorian era views on marriage and family by attacking the patriarchal expectations, and like confined women, prioritized appearances, and stifled individual freedom. The play's climax directly challenges the traditional view of wife as a charming possession of the or the dependent child existing solely to serve her husband's ego and amusement. So Nora's famous departure, like Nora realizes that her entire marriage has been an illusion built on performance. So she tells Torvald that I have been your doll wife, and I have been Papa's doll child, and her children have been my dolls. So her decision to leave signifies a refusal to remain a decorative object. Also, the play dismantles the cherished Victorian idol of a husband as an authoritative protector and the wife as a grateful dependent. Because Towell's action reveal his arrangement to be based on control and superficiality, not genuine love. Because, like, when Towell learns of the forgery, his first reaction is not of compassion for Nora, but he expresses his rage over his reputation. So he says, I'm saved, Nora, and I'm saved." And then, so he's always thinking about himself. So this selfishness reveals that his love was conditional upon her moral and financial purity, exposing the moral marriage as a contract for ownership. So this exposes the superficiality of the Victorian ideals. Also, the traditional views held that a woman's primary duty was her husband and her children. So Nora shattered this by declaring that her duty to herself was the primary one, and to become a fully realized human being is more important than her duty as a wife and a mother. So Nora asserts by saying that she needs to go for her self discovery. So when she says, "I must stand quite alone if I'm ever to know myself and my surrounding, that is why I cannot stay with you." So her worry is not to fit to raise her children in her current status. Uh, so it is like directly challenge to the sanctity of the maternal role. Also, in James Haneker in the Iconoclasts said, the slammed door, the door which Nora slams, so the slammed door reverberated across the roof of the world. So it basically shows that how the movement of feminism has been evident throughout the dollhouse. First, Nora was a submissive woman. Then she realizes her expression of her own individuality, and finally, when she takes the decision to leave her home and leave the responsibilities which have been laden into her, of a mother, of a good wife, of a good daughter, and she realizes that she need to find herself. So it all of this idea of finding the individual self is uh, is what brings into action all the uh, all the things which Nora does and Nora says. Also, the most radical aspect is the suggestion that the most sacred unit of society is the family. uh, when the family dissolves, and walking away from it can be an act of moral integrity, uh, has been expressed by the society. Nora's final action is the antithesis of "till death do us part" ideal. So when in during marriages, it is said that "till death do us part" we'll be together, sort of something. So so slamming the door at the end of the play is a literal and symbolic challenge, like of the traditional family. Like, Nora leaves the family and go. So it arguably is the most famous sound effect of modern drama, and representing the collapse of Helmer's family and how the family is torn apart, and the pivot of the family is going into self exploration, and the possibility of women choosing the unknown freedom of the external world over the oppression of the home. So these are the traditional views of marriage and family which have been challenged in the doll's house. So try to write these answers and send me in my email, which I have been provided in the description box of the channel in the YouTube. I'll be giving the notes of these, so you can arrange, and you can also put some of the other quotes which you find is necessary and important, and prepare your notes beforehand before the mains, so it'll be easier, and a lot of the things will be completed before your mains, so that you can focus on other things also, because it is a fairly compact optional. You just need to work on the quality of answers. So better to write the answers beforehand and improve the quality. By the time you'll be writing means, actually your quality of answer will get better and better automatically. Okay, this was it for the video. Thank you.